You're watching India Today, and of course we're getting you all the updates you need to know, our unparalleled coverage of the Ukraine war. Yesterday, day 6 of Putin's invasion, you saw the Russian military convoy inching closer and closer to capital Kyiv. Russia is scaling up its aggression in Ukraine, a convoy of Russian tanks and other vehicles advancing on Kyiv. What you see on your screens right now is a TV tower in Kyiv on Tuesday that was struck down by Russia. 5 people were killed, 5 others were also injured in this strike. TV channels across the country stopped broadcasting after the attack. It's very clear what Russia is aiming at, a communication blackout right now. Russia had issued a warning earlier that it would strike Kyiv's security service headquarters with high-precision weapons. Residents living close by were asked to evacuate. Russia told all civilians leave the city. Russia said that it would launch a strike against the Center for Information and Psychological Operations to suppress a number of information attacks on various state institutions and Russian citizens. Moscow has issued warnings for residents who live in close proximity to communication towers near the headquarters. This is in the heart of Kyiv, to evacuate their homes immediately. So the strikes have begun now in Kyiv, and what we're showing you is the aftermath also of these deadly strikes by Russia that's unfortunately also leading to several casualties. So as I mentioned, a lot has happened overnight, with Russia again focusing on capital Kyiv. Let's get you now our most defining images that have emerged from the Ukraine war in the last few hours. At least 5 people died and several wounded after Russia bombed the TV tower in Ukraine's capital Kyiv. TV channels across the country stopped broadcasting right after the attack, which disrupted signals.
Значит, дорогожичи обстреляны, друзья. Дорогожичи обстреляны. Все легли!
The missile attack on the administrative building in Kharkiv has not only flattened the surrounding area, it's also left several injured, with local authorities carrying out rescue and relief operations and trying to save those who are trapped in the rubble and debris. As Russia steps up their aggression into the Ukrainian territory, their military is being accused of putting off vacuum bombs. That's a deadly weapon that could vaporize a human body in seconds. Images captured by a Ukrainian citizen show plumes of smoke from what looks like a vacuum bomb going high into the air.
Я ебал в рот.
With the war knocking on the doors of Kyiv, the capital, residents are rushing to railway stations to try and find a way to get out of the city. Long queues, along with several people camped on the platforms, highlights the widespread panic that's currently gripped the entire nation. Some residents are trying to leave for the sake of their families. With war knocking on the doors of Kyiv, there are several others who have now picked up arms to fight Russia. While the state provides them with arms, these civilians essentially depend on volunteer coordination centers to provide them with equipment, with food, with medicines that have been donated to them. Maria Paisarenko, India Today's reporter, who I'm sure you've seen, covering every aspect of the story from the capital, filed this report.
Hi, I'm Maria Paisarenko, reporting from Kyiv, Ukraine, and here I am in the special volunteer and supply center. So it is also called Volunteer Coordination Center. Its main idea is to help those people who are now being enlisted to help Ukraine defend itself, those civilians who get weapons from the state, so that they could also have other types of equipment, clothing, the protection equipment like bulletproofs and helmets, also food and all that stuff, because so far the state is procuring the official armed forces, not the volunteer fighters, so issues guns and rifles to them. So volunteers have gathered here in this which used to be like a week ago a normal office in the old town Kyiv. Now there is, a big headquarters of people who are bringing boxes, who sorting everything which is brought here. For example, here we have the medicine equipment, medicine equipment unit, and people who are going through the boxes and boxes, piles of what volunteers have brought. Everything you see is labeled, everything is titled so that they could find whatever the fighters need. The demand is really very high because the active military actions are still going and happening all over Ukraine, and also here in Kyiv. Every day we hear reports about civilian casualties, about military casualties, and sure, everything is really on high demand. And as you see in the medicine department, everything really is very coordinated and going at high speed, and really everything is in order. The reason why this center is designed, so to say, this way is that a lot of people here are those who have been volunteering for years already, since 2014, and they have a pretty decent volunteer experience, and that is why they already know how to coordinate, know how to do the logistics. Here, for example, you can see the piles of water, the piles of some drinks. If you go there, you can see people sorting food, and for example, there are some cookies packed, or bread and whatnot, the lavash and other types of dried quick foods. Then you see there are a lot of people right now, and everybody is running around trying to do what they have to do. Everybody has its own, part and sphere of responsibility. Here we can see the uniform, so this is like a pixel camouflage, which is Ukrainian camouflage. You see, yes, the bags of Ukrainian uniform, also the bags with bags, actually. So everything here is being donated by different, entities, by private people, by small manufacturers, small businesses, and here everything is, to make the volunteer fighters at a maximum equipped and to be ready, to fight in any circumstances.
And we're going to, of course, be getting you more such eye-opening reports through the day. Ukrainian President, meanwhile, Volodymyr Zelenskyy has made it very, very clear that Ukraine will continue to fight. He delivered a moving address in the European Parliament. In an emergency parliament session, Zelenskyy told the European Union to prove that they're with Ukraine in this war against Russia. Zelenskyy also said that Ukraine wants its children to live, adding that they're now fighting for their rights, for their freedom, for their life, and to be equal members of Europe. European Union lawmakers, many wearing Stand with Ukraine t-shirts bearing the Ukrainian flag, others with blue and yellow scarves or ribbons, give Zelenskyy a standing ovation.
We are fighting for our rights, for our freedoms, for life, for our life. And now we're fighting for survival. And this is the highest of our motivation. But we are fighting also to be equal members of Europe. We have a desire to see our children alive. I think it's a fair one. Yesterday, 16 children were killed. Again and again, President Putin is going to say that is some kind of operation and we are hitting a military infrastructure. Where are our children? What kind of military factories do they work at? What tanks are they going with? Or launching cruise missiles? He killed 16 people just yesterday. Do prove that you are with us. Do prove that you will not let us go. Do prove that you indeed are Europeans. And then life will win over death, and light will win over darkness. Glory be to Ukraine.
So as you see there, Zelenskyy is leading the fight back from the front. His wife, The First Lady of Ukraine has been standing by him throughout. Extremely influential, Olena has taken to social media to motivate her fellow countrymen, to motivate Ukrainians.
As the world watches Ukraine and Russia taking center stage, along with Russian President Putin, is President Zelenskyy, the leader of Ukraine. Former comic stepping up in true statesman-like fashion to defend his homeland. In a series of public messages, Zelenskyy garnering world admiration, choosing to stay put in Ukraine, calling himself as Russia's target number 1 and his family, his wife, and their 2 children, target number 2. But who is his wife? The First Lady of Ukraine. She is Olena Zelenskaya, 44, screenwriter by profession and classmate of Zelenskyy. Once opposed to her husband's political aspiration, she now his closest ally, by his side in hiding, refusing to leave the country or her husband. Widely popular, Zelenskaya, whose English is flawless, is considered one of Ukraine's most influential women. A fashion icon in her country, she has been the cover girl of many fashion magazines. Like her husband, she has rooted her social media presence with a 2 million following on Instagram to speak with the people of her country in these war-torn times. On the 1st of March, when Kharkiv was facing the full brunt of Russian assault and capital Kyiv was bracing for a massive Russian military operation, Olena saluted the women of Ukraine with this post. In another Instagram post, on 25th February, she wrote, alongside an image of an Ukrainian flag, she said, "My dear people, Ukrainians, I am looking at you all today. Everyone I see on TV, on the streets, on the internet. I see your posts and videos. And you know what? You are incredible. I'm proud to live with you in the same country. Today, I will not have panic and tears. I will be calm and confident. My children are looking at me. I will be next to them and next to my husband and with you. I love you. I love Ukraine." In another post of a picture of a baby born in a Kyiv shelter, she wrote, "We are the army. The army is us. And children born in bomb shelters will live in a peaceful country that has defended itself." While Ukraine marks one of its worst chapters in history, no matter what the outcome of this war, in decades from now, the sepia-tinted images of the first couple of Ukraine will always be revered as the brave, gritty ones who did their people, their land proud. Bureau Report, India Today.
The tragic news came in yesterday of an Indian student dying in shelling in Kharkiv, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi called a high-level meet soon after the news came in. Prime Minister asserted that his government's top priority right now is to ensure the safety and evacuation of every Indian student, of every Indian national, and several options thereby being considered to transport those Indians who are still trapped in the conflict zone. Our next report tells you more on that.
There are some of our friends who went out and bring when the actually the supply is very short and we have to go out for food and water, so it's like we are literally scared and don't know what to do.
We've been here since 11:30 and the Ukrainians are not letting us in the train. 2 trains have passed and we still have not got into the train, so please help us.
Here the situation is very critical, like we can't get food and water supply properly. Now we just went out to take just food and water, but no water is available.
यहाँ पे कंडीशन बहुत खराब है और हम लोग सब बेसमेंट में छुपे हुए हैं क्योंकि यहाँ पर कंटिन्यूअसली बॉम्ब गिर रहे हैं और फायरिंग हो रही है। खाने पीने का बहुत ही लिमिटेड सामान है।
They are many hundreds of kilometers away from the nearest exit routes. Stranded in Kharkiv, they are literally at the other end of the country, from where rescues are actually happening. But in the hellish landscape of Ukraine's second largest city, thousands of stranded Indians are just 40 kilometers from another country, Russia. With the code red situation becoming more urgent with each passing minute, is there a possibility that India can get President Putin to ensure safe passage across the border into Russia and out of the crossfire?
Where exactly Kharkiv is? It is far away from the western borders where most of the rescue effort is currently concentrated. So this is Kharkiv, where the Indian student Naveen Shekharappa was killed. It is far away from the western border where things are actually happening. Take a look at this now. This is where Kyiv is. This is the capital of Ukraine. This is Kharkiv, which is in the northeastern part of Ukraine. And remember, most of the rescue efforts are happening around this particular area. That's where all the exits are taking place from of Indian students. But if you look at Kharkiv here, the closest border is Russia. Could that be one of the...
Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a high-level emergency meeting on Tuesday night in the wake of India's first fatality. Sources say that with the situation in Ukraine deteriorating rapidly and with the impossibility of fully ensuring the safety of students as they try to make their way hundreds of kilometers across the country from east to west, could the Russian en route be the simplest and most risk-free? Russia border 40 km from Kyiv. Route from Kharkiv to Russian border controlled by Russia. Exit via Russia would ensure fastest escape. India can use diplomatic heft with Russia to ensure safe passage. As the blood of an innocent student makes the Ukraine crisis very much an Indian problem, the safety over thousands of students, especially over 3,000, still in Kharkiv, a top priority. Will the Modi government push for a quick escape route across the Russia border? The time is running out. Bureau Report, India Today.
Russia's aggression has come at a big cost for the nation, with the country now being pushed towards a pariah status in sports. Sanctions are mounting, countries, federations all calling for a boycott. Here's all that you need to know about the cost Russian sport is now paying for this war with Ukraine.
The sanctions continue to mount. Russia is now facing the biggest boycott in decades. Vladimir Putin's aggression has come at a huge cost for his nation, with Russia now facing unprecedented isolation from the sporting community. The invasion of Ukraine has sparked massive sanctions. Russia has been expelled from the 2022 Football World Cup in Qatar. After being suspended from all international competitions, FIFA and UEFA announced in a joint statement that Russian clubs as well as the national team will not be allowed to participate in their tournaments. The development comes after Poland as well as the Czech Republic refused to play with Russia in the World Cup playoffs. UEFA also announced that it was ending its partnership with Russian state energy giant Gazprom, a deal that was due to run till 2024 and cost around $40 million a year. The Champions League final that was slated to take place in St. Petersburg was also moved to Paris last week, after the invasion of Ukraine. Russia was dealt another body blow after the International Olympic Committee recommended banning Russian and Belarusian athletes from all sporting events. The executive board's recommendation means Russia and Belarus may not be allowed to compete at the Winter Paralympic Games in Beijing that starts this week. In fact, the IOC also recommended taking away all the hosting rights from Russia in the near future. Only last Sunday, the International Judo Federation had suspended Vladimir Putin as their honorary president. With sport federations, event bodies, all cutting ties with Russia amid worldwide condemnation and sanctions from Western countries, the World Motorsport Council has called for an emergency meeting on Wednesday. The move comes after Formula One announced that it is stripping Russia off from holding the F1 race in September this year. The clamour to ban Russia and Belarus continues to grow, with the West calling for an outright ban on all sporting entities and events related to the two nations. The boycott Russia is facing is similar to what Yugoslavia faced in 1992 after war in the Balkan region. Similar to what happened with South Africa during the apartheid years. And one thing's for sure, Russian sports will continue to suffer if the war does not end soon. Bureau Report, India Today.
Day 7 of the Ukraine war, and stay tuned to us here on India Today for all the live updates that are coming in and also the latest on the evacuation operations. We're slipping into a very short break. I'll be right back with the latest.